Stories presents Classic Listener Stories.
Hey guys, welcome to the October edition of the Hillbilly Horror Stories.
What'd you say?
Listener story.
October? What the heck?
It's hard to believe.
Man, that's
October
cray-cray.
is here. It's our season.
It
We're
is.
getting ready to take a couple of days from now. We'll be in West Virginia with our buddies. And then straight from there, we'll come back and have 1 day's rest.
Yes, seriously.
We'll have 1 day's rest, and then we'll go. We're leaving to go to New York, so I can be at John Lennon's memorial on his birthday.
Yeah.
And then we're going to stay with Dina up there. She's going to let us stay at her place when we leave from there and go to Philadelphia. So
Good. Looking forward to that.
that's going to be a lot of fun. She's promised to take us to a bunch of cool places.
Awesome.
So then, of course, the Philadelphia show.
Yep.
So, all right. So this is the listener stories episode. We don't have a ton of stories, but what we got is quality. It's all about high quality. Quality over quantity, right?
As
you pick your teeth.
I'm sorry. My bad.
So we'll start off. What we'll do is we'll read one because we've got two that were sent in.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll read one, then we'll play one of the recorded ones. And both of the people that we've got on tonight have pretty interesting stories.
They do, for sure.
So let's start off with the first one. I'll read the first one. This is from Jessica. Hi, I know I've messaged before about how I love the show. You both feel like family, and I've always come back to listen to the podcast when I need comforting voices to hear. The group is great for support as well. I know you guys are super busy, but if you have a minute and care to hear one of my ghost stories, I'd love to share it with you.
Nice. Thank you, honey.
Okay. Well, I don't share a lot because people like to look at me crazy when I tell them about my experiences. I've had strange things happen for about the last 16 years. This story began when I moved into my old house July 2017. Everything seemed normal at first. Then my children began refusing to sleep in their rooms. They were terrified. I have two children who were 5 and 3 at the time. I took it as an excuse to sleep in my bed. Kids do like to do that.
Oh, I know.
That went on for several months, and I thought nothing of it. Kids do that all the time. I had a close friend get killed in a car accident in early November 2017. He was a co-worker and a musician. Within a week of his passing, I was laying in my room alone, reading a book, and Spotify began playing a song by Ed Sheeran all on its own. My phone was not plugged in. The screen was turned off, all the apps were turned off, and nothing was around it. I had never heard this song before. I assumed it was my friend sending me a sign. The next night, I was in my room alone, folding laundry, and my TV turned on by itself to a blank black screen. The remote was on my husband's nightstand. This happened again the following week. Yet again, I thought this was my friend. Going back to my children, my son was still refusing to sleep in his bed. He has a loft bed. In 2018, I decided to smudge the house. I made sure to smudge above his bed very well. My kids were to sleep in their own rooms after that.
Right.
Makes sense? Fast forward to March 2019. The house started to feel very dark again. My kids were feeling scared again, so I felt it was time to smudge the house again. I lit the sage and proceeded to my walkthrough. However, this time, it set off both of my normal smoke detector and my ADT fire alarm. Not only was my fire department paged out to the house, but 2 other towns were also.
Wow.
I was not able to complete the cleansing. I passed it off as a blonde moment, but looking back, I'm not sure. In June 2019, my husband and I went to Vegas on a vacation. We left my 18-year-old stepson at home all by himself. He said one night he was sleeping on the couch and was awoken for some reason. He looked down the hallway and saw a black figure walk from my daughter's room across the hallway into my room. He said it scared him so much that he couldn't sleep the rest of the night. We recently purchased a house and moved out of that house on August 16th. As I was finishing packing the kitchen, I saw a black figure out of the corner of my eye. It was standing near the doorway by the utility closet. It disappeared rather quickly. I talked to it and told it that it was no longer allowed to draw on my energy, and it was not allowed to go with us to our new house. The entire time that we lived in that house, my husband, my stepson, and I had horrible headaches. I've been diagnosed with chronic migraines.
In the new house or the old house?
No, the old house.
Okay.
The day that I saw the black figure, I did not have a headache until I walked into the house. Within a half hour of taking it or talking to it, my headache was gone. That's my story of my encounter with a dark entity.
Wow.
So this obviously wasn't her friend.
Yeah.
Because she thought it was
right.
initially.
Yeah.
I think obviously that's the whole point of the story is she's thinking when these things first started happening, it was her friend since he had recently passed.
Yeah. Wonder who the heck it was or what it was.
There's no tellings. And this is like very recent, so she literally just moved out of the
heck
house a
yeah.
couple of weeks ago.
So, no, I think I might have missed it. Did the entity follow her to the new house?
She didn't say anything about the new house.
Okay.
At all. She just said that she moved. So I'd be interested to see if her headaches keep up and all that.
Oh, yeah. That was a good story.
It was very interesting. So, thank you for sending that to us, Jessica.
Yeah, thank you.
So without further ado, we will move on to another Jessica. We have Jess from Shoes, Booze, and Tattoos. You've heard her on the show a couple of times. Mm-hmm. She's going to be hosting the show down in West Virginia.
Can't wait.
And Jess is a witch.
Well,
and
rude.
Witch with a W. No, she's a witch. She's a practicing witch.
Oh.
And on her show, and I'm going to have her come on our show at some point and do this. And I think she's going to do this. She's going to do something special for our Halloween episode.
Oh, great.
She's going to talk about witches on broomsticks and how all that got started.
Yeah, I would love to know that.
But one day, it was funny. One day we were talking, and she was like, I need to do an episode this week, and I don't know what to do it on. This is really basically after she first started. She only had like 3 episodes out. And we were talking about the witch thing, and somehow or another we got on the subject of, I was making fun, as I normally do, and I said something about Eye of Newt. Mm-hmm. And I can't remember what it was, but she said, Eye of Newt is, Eye of Newt is just mustard seed.
No way.
Like, and I was like, no, I didn't know that. And she said, yeah, back in the day, witches would talk in code. So all this stuff that you hear that you think is really an eye of a newt or something, it was just another word for something else. And she starts telling me all these different things that, if you've heard of this and you heard of that, it's really this. And I was like, that's what you should do an episode on. And because she had no intentions on doing anything about witchcraft or anything like that. So instead, she said, hey, that's a good idea. So she did a whole episode on all these different roots and plants and stuff like that are involved in witchcraft and what they do and what they're meant to do, and crystals.
You mean we've been eating eye of newt on our hot dogs all this time?
We have.
I'll be dang.
So I thought it was pretty cool. So she did that, and then she's done 2 or 3 other episodes on witchcraft.
That's really interesting.
So I think she's going to talk about some of that at the show.
Oh,
so
good.
Really cool.
I like eye of newt.
Well, it's mustard seed.
But a bunch of mustard seeds makes mustard.
I think there's probably some other ingredients too.
That's good. That's some good. I'd like to learn more about that stuff.
Well, you can go back and listen to the episode. It's
I'm
pretty
going
interesting.
to.
But like I said, I think that's what she's going to talk about.
Very cool.
At the show. So anyways, without further ado, Jess is on, and she's got some really cool stories.
Okay, awesome.
And first of all, she thought that a ghost was a maid. But I'll let her tell you the details of the story. But it's actually pretty funny. So, All right, let's listen to Jess. Hey guys, I've got Jess from Shoes, Booze, and Tattoos. She's been awesome and has been on the show a couple of times. And way back when we first started doing these listener stories, she called in and told us her story. And it's kind of funny how it all goes full circles. Now she's got her own podcast, and she's been on as a special guest. She's going to be hosting the show in West Virginia for us, and she's coming back on tonight to tell us some personal stories, because the last time you were on, Jess, you didn't tell one of your stories. You told your mom's story, correct?
Right. It was one of my mom's stories, which was a good story at the start, but back a couple years ago, I was extremely nervous, kind of panicked, brain shut off. So this time should be much better just because they're my own stories, so I know everything that happens.
Right. So you got a couple of stories. The first one has to do, did you say with your grandma's maid or your mom's maid?
Actually, it's my great-grandma's maid.
Oh, goodness. So tell me a little bit about that story.
Okay. Well, my great-grandma, she lived in a town here called Boardman, which parts of it are very well off, and my great-grandparents were pretty well off. Well, we used to go there pretty frequently. When I was a kid, my mom would go there and cut the grass for them as they got older, and me and my sister would always go downstairs into the basement. When you went down the stairs into the basement, off to the left was a laundry room. Every time when I went down those stairs and past that laundry room, there was a woman standing in there. She was wearing a long, dark-colored dress. It was either black or gray or dark blue. She had like a bib apron on. Sorry, I had to cough. But she had that bib apron on, and she was folding laundry or hanging it up on the line down there or ironing or whatever the case may be. And I would always just wave to her and go about playing in the basement with my sister. Said hi a couple times. She said hi back. I thought until a few years ago that my great-grandma had a maid. My great-grandma never had a maid. It was just the two of them there.
That's odd.
It was really odd. And they showed us pictures. They showed me a picture. My grandma showed me a picture of the past owner before them, which was the only other owner of the house. And it wasn't her. It was actually, I was looking through photo albums a couple years ago, and it was definitely my great-grandma, her grandmother. It looks exactly like her.
So this maid, or who you thought was a maid, was another one of your great-grandmothers.
Well, technically, yeah, she would have been a great-great-great-grandmother.
Well, I don't like to pass judgments. I think all grandmothers are great, so there's no sense of calling her great-great-great. She's still just great.
Oh, she is great. But she had been dead well before even my mom was born. And I had never seen any pictures of her or anything. I just knew there was this redheaded woman in the basement that was doing laundry all the time. I thought she was great-grandma's maid.
That's funny. How old were you when this took place?
Oh, it was every time I went over there, probably as far back as I can remember, maybe like 5, 6, until I was 10, when they were put into assisted living.
It's kind of funny that you would see this so often and not have a clue. It looked so real that you did not have a clue that it wasn't a real person standing in front of you.
Oh yeah, I had no idea that it was anything strange or not there.
And did you not ever bring up the fact to your grandparents or to your mom about the maid, or just nothing ever came up in conversation about it?
Not that I can really think of. I remember one time I asked my great-grandma about the maid, and she just kind of laughed it off. I don't remember if she said anything about it or questioned me about it, but it was just, it still didn't make it seem like it wasn't real, you know?
Right. Huh. Well, that's odd on its own accord.
I was little, so she was probably thinking I was just talking about a picture that was down there, or, you know, making a joke about her needing a maid, you know, something like that. She probably just laughed it off for that, but no, I firmly believed until a few years ago. So from the time I was like 5 until 26, 27, I thought she had a maid.
So you literally, that's something you just found out.
Yeah.
Within the last couple of years.
Uh-huh.
Well, that's crazy.
About 3 or 4 years ago, I brought it up to my grandma. Because I don't know what had happened. We were talking about my great-grandparents, and I asked what happened to the maid that used to work for them. Like, was she through a company? Did she go to work somewhere else? And my grandma just laughed at me. She was like, they never had a maid. Like, they put 4 kids through college, plus help with grandkids in college. They didn't have money for a maid. I was like, oh. And I described this lady, and my grandma, she ended up, a couple months later, we were going through photo albums, and I saw this picture of my great-grandma's grandmother, and I pointed it out, and I was like, that's her, that's the maid that was in the basement. And that's when she told me who she was, and found out the truth.
So was she dressed like you remember seeing her dressed in the pictures?
Yes and no. The pictures were, of course, just black and white.
Mm-hmm.
And she was wearing a long dark dress with the high neck and the long sleeves, which she was wearing in the basement. But she wasn't wearing the apron, and she didn't have... Like, when she was in the basement, like, her hair was, like, crazy curly. So little bits would be sticking out everywhere. But in the picture, it was, like, pristine, pulled up in a bun, perfect.
Interesting.
Yep.
So your other story is completely different.
Oh, yeah, completely different.
So tell me, I won't even introduce it. I'll just let you lead into it.
Well, this is actually recent and kind of current. The house we live in right now is old. It was built in the 1860s. And our house was actually the barn for the historical home across the street from us. Now, pretty frequently, we have a cat. I should say that first of all. We have a cat. He has always had a collar with a bell on it, so we can hear where he is. Pretty frequently, we'll feel a cat rub up against our legs, or climb up onto our bed, like hop up onto the bed, and like snuggle up. And we'll just think it's our cat. But about 2 years ago, it was right around Halloween, my husband and I were laying in bed, and we feel the cat jump up, snuggle in, lay down, and then get up and walk around the bed. You know how cats do.
Right.
And then we hear our cat's collar in the hallway. Like coming out of my son's room, because he likes to go cuddle up with my son. So the cat is not in our room. But there is a cat on our bed that we can feel. So I sit up and I'm looking around, and there's nothing on our bed anywhere. And we still feel like something is laying like right between our feet. So I sit up and I look out into the hallway. The cat is still in the hallway. Our cat, our real cat with the bell on him. And then my husband moves his foot, and it just like completely disappeared.
His foot disappeared, or the cat?
But the feeling of the cat, that feeling of that cat was gone, the one that was invisible on our bed. And we still feel it from time to time, and it's always super noticeable because there's no sound with it. Our cat is fat. He makes noise when he walks on the carpeting, or when he gets on the bed, gets off the bed. He makes noise.
Yeah. Yeah, our cat's like that. He's huge. It's a mountain lion, practically.
Oh my goodness. No, ours is still pretty small, but he makes noise when he walks. But we'll still feel it once in a while, like walk across our bed or curl around a leg or whatever. And it's just a ghost cat from, I suppose, when this place was a barn.
That's crazy, because I've seen pictures of your house. I never would have guessed that was a barn at one time.
Oh no, Ken is completely, my husband, has completely gutted the entire thing. I think there's like 8 to 10 support beams that are original to the house, and that's it.
Wow.
That's what termites will do to it.
I'm sure. Well, Jess, I appreciate you having on. Tell everybody how they can listen to your show.
You can find Shoes, Booze, and Tattoos pretty much anywhere you get podcasts.
And awesome show. I love it. And I am a loyal listener, and I love the all the different angles that you cover. You do a really good job with your research. So
Well, thank you.
It's a fun show. So, all right, Jess. Well, I appreciate it, and I will be talking to you soon, and I will see you in West Virginia in a week and a half.
Oh, I know. I'm excited.
I know it's going to be fun. Okay, so Freddie jumps up here in the bed with us sometimes. What?
Nothing. When we were getting ready to talk about a cat, and this thing popped up on my thing, said just something about my cat.
Oh.
Well, that's weird.
So Freddie, because he weighs about 600 pounds, he jumps up on the bed, and you know when he jumps up on the bed, you can just feel his little footsteps and all that stuff. It's different than Ninja.
Yeah.
It's just a different way that they walk and all that. And so I could really feel when she's talking about the fact that, the cat jumps up in the bed.
Yeah, she thought that was the cat.
Yeah, and you can see that because it feels that way. But then to find out that the cat's out in the hallway.
Oh, my gosh. What if it was an oversized rat?
I'm pretty sure that's...
I would have pooped in that bed. Oh, it would just been horrid.
Yeah, I thought that's a pretty cool story. And then I wonder about the whole thing with the great grandma. I probably missed a great in there somewhere.
Yeah.
But the fact that, just think about that. She thought for 20 some years of her life that was a maid, and didn't find out until way into her adulthood.
And that is...
A couple of years ago that was not a maid. That was actually a ghost she was seeing all that time.
Oh my gosh.
So I thought that was funny.
So many strange things happen in this world.
So, but anyways, that was Jess from Shoes, Booze, and Tattoos. Check her out.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that stuff with us, honey. Yeah, you guys check her out. She's amazing.
Yeah, especially check out those witchcraft episodes.
Oh, heck yeah.
So you can kind of see what we're talking about. She's got like 3 different installments now of the witchcraft ones. And she got her mom on one of the shows because her mom, she didn't grow up as a witch, and her mom's not a witch. So she gets her mom on to talk about the differences in opinion and all that.
Yeah, I'd be neat to, hear what she has to say about that, her mom and stuff.
So, Tracy, you have another listener story. Who's this one from?
This one is from Kirsten and Queenie from New Jersey.
Awesome.
It says, "Hi, Jerry and Tracy. I love this week's ghost animal episode. I felt compelled for some reason to tell you my ghost dog story. I had a beagle named Buddy growing up. I'm an only child, so he was basically my brother. I love beagles. Oh my gosh, they're so adorable. So I had to make a tough decision of letting Buddy go after a tough battle with cancer. Fast forward 4 years after Buddy passed, I moved out of my parents' house and adopted a little dachshund mixed puppy named Queenie."
I think that's dachshund.
Oh, sorry. What did I say?
Dachshund.
Oh. Aw. What is it called again?
Dachshund.
Oh, my Lord. Okay. Her name is Queenie. I have and still do feel guilt over getting another dog since Buddy was my best friend. I can't believe I messed that word up. I recently went to a psychic with my mom. While we were getting read, the psychic looked at me and asked, "Did you recently get a puppy?" I had Queenie for about a year, so I said yes. And he told me to stop feeling guilty, that my childhood dog doesn't want me to feel that way. The psychic proceeded to tell us that everyone we have a relationship with, including pets, has a soul contract with us. Basically, we're forever connected, and especially pets teach us everything we need to know, and when we have learned all we can from them, it is their time to go. But he was still very connected to me and was one of my soul contacts. I know it sounds a little hokey, but I have been to the psychic a few times, and he's given always right on point. In terms of Buddy, he even mentioned once how Buddy had fallen down the steps when he was younger. He had epilepsy and had a seizure at the top of the steps. Don't worry, he was hard-headed and totally okay. Sorry that was so long-winded, but I'm a huge animal lover like you and Tracy and figured you would appreciate this story. Thanks for all you do for mental health awareness and, well, I'm 27 and have been dealing with anxiety and a panic for over 20 years. So it's so refreshing to have you guys to be so open about it. Best wishes from New Jersey, Kirsten and Queenie.
Oh, thank you, Kirsten, for telling that story.
Oh, yeah.
It's tough losing one. I can't.
I don't even want to think about it.
Yeah, I don't even want to think about it.
No, it's just, I can't imagine. I don't even know if we would ever get another pet after Ninja. What do you think?
I'm sure we would eventually would.
Yeah.
But I don't know, because this sounds really negative, because it's a small price to pay for the companionship that you get and the love you get. But it's like, if we go somewhere now, we have to have somebody watch Ninja.
Yeah.
And like, I even thought about, like we were talking about at one point, maybe moving to Florida or something like that. If we moved to Florida and
we don't have nobody.
We wouldn't have anybody. We'd have to go to a pet resort or one of those places. And I can't imagine leaving him with somebody for a week that he doesn't know.
Yeah.
So, it would limit what we could do. So, I mean, in some ways, he kind of hinders some of the stuff what we want to do. Like I said, it's a small price to pay.
Of course.
But
my baby Ninja Polly. I just love ya. I do. He's looking at me with his big, beautiful eyes.
All right, so we went to CryptidCon a couple weeks ago, and we made a lot of good contacts, one of which just happens to be local. And I say local, he's about an hour away from us, hour and a half. And his name is Rodney Adams. He's been on a couple of TV shows that you might have seen, and he'll tell you what episodes and stuff when we get into the interview. But he's been on a couple of the what was that one, Afraid of the Woods, but they changed the name of it. Is what it was. So it's throwing me off. But he tells you the name of it. But he's been on that episode, and then he's been on an episode of Finding Bigfoot. So pretty cool. And then he's got his own podcast.
Yeah, he does.
So we thought we'd have him on and talk, and he's got a bunch of cool stories. Eventually he's going to be on the main show and tell us his Bigfoot encounter and stuff that was featured on this show and a whole bunch of other stuff. But so let's listen real quick to, he goes by Rod Mack, by the way.
Mack.
So let's listen to Rod Mack. All right, we have another fellow podcaster joining us tonight, and he's going to tell us some of his experiences. He's got a lot of experiences because him and his wife both do a ton of stuff in the paranormal field and the cryptid field. So please welcome to the show, Rod Mack. What's up, Rod?
Hey, how's it going, Jerry?
It's going well. Now, we had a chance to interact a little bit at the CryptidCon, and you were telling me that you and your wife are both. Did you say that both of you guys are empaths?
Yeah, I'm actually an empath. She's probably a little further along than me. She's more like a medium.
No, I got you. So
yeah, so she's a little more advanced than I am in that world.
So, do you actually go out and hunt cryptids, or is it just a fascination of yours?
I do actually go out and hunt cryptids themselves. Pretty much anytime I'm in the woods, I'm always looking, and I go out of my way to go into the woods to look for them now. Have been for quite a while, probably about a good 12 or 13 years anyway. Trying to think what year is this? I guess 15 years would be total.
So you do a couple of shows. Tell me a little bit about the shows that you do and what formats they're on.
Well, had a little small appearance myself on Finding Bigfoot. It's season 5, episode 1. My wife was also on there. She was doing one of her recreations. She used to be a skeptic until she had seen the critter that she was recreating there. And that one aired about 2014, but you can find it pretty much on Animal Planet or any of the shows that carry Animal Planet programs. As far as cryptid shows, other than that, I did one called actually it was called Terror in the Woods for Destination America, and basically that show is me telling about the first real visual encounter I had in the Red River Gorge that kind of got me into this field and kind of made me addicted to chasing cryptids around. And that was season 1, episode 6, I believe. They also took that show and moved it over to Travel Channel under another name, and it's called These Woods Are Haunted There. And that one's season 1, episode 7, I believe.
I just watched an episode of that the other night.
Yeah, it was actually on one day last week.
Yep, I remember turning it on and seeing some of it, and it's the first time I'd ever heard of it, and I didn't realize it was formerly known by something else.
Yeah, it was originally on Destination America, and they moved it to Travel Channel, which gave it a bigger audience, so I wasn't complaining about that. There was a lot bigger audience for Travel Channel than there is for Destination America.
Now, do you also have a like a paranormal show on like an internet radio station or something?
We do a podcast. It's just basically about the whole, I guess what we would say, the dumb stuff we see every day. And we have a page that supports that, but it's called the F-Tard Nation. I won't say the word on here because I don't know if you're going to edit it or not, but it's actually the full word spelled out with an asterisk. So
right. So
and that was my wife's brainchild there.
Yeah, and your wife's a hoot, so I could see her being behind something like that.
Yeah.
So
we just did our second episode, and we just now got onto iTunes and iHeartRadio.
Nice. So you got a boatload of stories that you can tell us, but you've handpicked a couple of them, so I'm just going to turn the microphone over to you and let you start telling us some cool stories.
Yeah, I've been having paranormal experiences since I was a child. I guess one of the coolest ones I can think of, a couple of friends of mine, we were out cruising one night in the Jeffersontown, Kentucky area. Back then, it wasn't like it is now. It was pretty much country, and there wasn't a lot to do. There was an industrial park that's really a big industrial park now. Back then, it was fairly small. So we would cruise through there and head over, it was kind of a shortcut between Earthbourne Parkway and Shelbyville Road. So we'd cruise over there and on Friday and Saturday nights and take the shortcut that way. So we're driving down, I think it was Plantside Drive. About 2 a.m. We're coming back home. We've been out for a while. And there's 4 of us in the car. We see a female walking down the side of the road. And at that time, you shouldn't have been out by yourself on a Saturday night out there. It was just, it was dangerous. There was nobody around. So we were kind of concerned. So we immediately flipped the car around and go back to see if she was okay, because it dawned on us that she was walking by herself, and it was like 2 a.m. As soon as we spun that car around and headed back to her direction, all 4 of us watched her fade away in front of our eyes.
Oh, wow.
And she was basically out of period dress after we started to think about it. She had a really long, kind of a frumpy dress on. Of course, it appeared all white to us. I don't know if it was just because of her spectral form, if it was actually white or not, but that's what it looked like to me. But there was 4 of us in the car, and all 4 of us were just blown away because we had actually all 4 went at the same time. So we knew that, and basically I had to look at my friends and say, did you all just see that? Did that really just happen? And they said, yeah, man, that really just happened. That's okay. I just had to check. But that was one of the first things I can remember growing up around J-Town that we ran into. And of course, I grew up about 4 miles from the famous Pope Lake Trestles and the Goat Man. And we used to run around all around those trestles.
That's what I was going to say when you said Jeffersontown earlier. I was going to remind everybody, but that's in the vicinity of the famous Pope Lake Monster.
Yeah, I grew up about 5 miles, maybe tops from there. So we were always around there. There was a park called Floyd Sport Park. It's still there now. It's part of a bigger thing called the Parklands. But, at the time it was really small. It was mainly a soccer field and a big gravel lot. And we would kind of go hang out there on the weekends and party with our buddies until the police showed up and ran us off. But there was one night we were all sitting out there, probably right about dusk. And the odd thing about this is I really don't know if it was an orb or a UFO, but there was just strange light in this. It looked like it was in the sky. Initially, I thought it might have been Mars or Venus, because it was dusk. It wasn't quite dark yet, and it was a pretty bright light. And so I got to watching it, pointed it out to my friends, and we kind of forgot about it for a minute. And 3 or 4 minutes later, we looked back over and kind of talking about it again. And about 30 seconds after that, it took off the sky in a lateral direction to our left and an incredible amount of speed. And then it came to a complete stop and then took off straight up towards, out of sight. And this all happened in a matter of maybe 5 seconds. So we don't really know what it was, but after kind of looking at things, we kind of realized that maybe it wasn't in the sky. It was actually out at the other end of that field. We had seen several spectral type lights and stuff in that area before. So it's kind of weird because if you fall into both categories, I've had a lot of orb encounters in graveyards and things of that nature. And also when I'm out chasing cryptids, I'll have these orb balls of light that kind of follow me around or interact with me. I'm not really sure what they are, but I would consider them paranormal for sure. They seem to have intelligent, conscious decision-making process.
Huh.
And that's a couple of things that we experienced when I was young out there. That was probably about 1986. About 1987, I was spending a lot of time with my cousin who lived out around East Pages Lane, and we actually spent most of that summer in Waverly Hills. At that time, Waverly Hills was a condemned structure, and it was in really bad shape. All the windows were broken out, and there was a chain link fence around the property, and the grass was like 7 foot tall, and there was a security guard and I believe a Rottweiler or two there on the premise. But we actually knew one of the security guards and would bribe him into letting us in. So we'd stay in there all day long and overnight in some cases. But one of the craziest things I can remember actually happened in the daytime at about 5 p.m. and it was probably July. It was super hot outside. And we had been inside walking around and realized that we weren't hot in the building. We were actually cold in places, which was kind of odd considering there were no windows then. We walk into one of these rooms in the front, and I think we were on the lowest floor possible, so it would be the second floor there. And it's kind of a little bit off the ground. We walked into this room, and the doors were really heavy and rusty and weren't really easy to open. After we had been in that room probably 15 minutes, that door slammed shut on us and we couldn't get it back open. How it slammed shut, I have no idea because I know those hinges were rusted. We had already looked at all that stuff a little earlier. But we ended up having to climb out the window and drop to the ground, which was about 12 feet. To get out of there because we couldn't get the door open. And that's really unnerving. And, usually don't hear a lot about hauntings during the day, but in places that size, I imagine they would happen all the time, places with that kind of a history.
They have issues now. When we went on a tour 2 years ago, and while we were sitting in a room, one of those big metal doors just slammed shut. And this last year we were on a tour, and the tour guide told us that they had a tour a couple of nights before where the same thing happened. So apparently it's a pretty common theme up there. Yeah,
it must be. I've been back a couple of times since it's got in the capacity that it's in. Of course, it's a lot less intimidating to me now than it was back then when it was vacant and abandoned.
Oh, I'm sure. I could remember
But
sneaking up there when I was younger, and this is closer to 2001, 2002. They still hadn't started revamping everything, and you could just go right up there, and there was no guards or anything. You move a piece of plywood that was blocking one of the entrances right there by where the gargoyle is, and just went in.
Yep. I remember that too. I was going up there then too. Some of my friends were the guys in the band Incursion that were always up there. They were in that movie Spook with Waverly Hills.
Yep, Incursion 502. I know them guys.
This was a good friend of mine because I was the singer for the band E Flat. So we were always going up in there, and we practiced out there about 2 miles from Waverly.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, I knew all those guys real well. My friend Nick actually was showing off the finishing pieces of his Waverly Hills back piece tattoo that he's got going on. It's phenomenal.
Oh, I'd like to see
his
that.
entire back is a huge piece dedicated to Waverly.
Oh, wow. Yeah, because I know up inside room 502, when you go in, there was like a, I don't know, divider or something that was just there, and then it's got all kinds of Incursion and stuff up there that the band wrote up there back years ago. It's still up there.
Yeah, back when they were younger, and when I said I'm sure there's probably quite a bit of graffiti for me in that building when I was really young as well. But
yeah,
that was the thing to do back then. You really didn't think about it much.
Yeah, that's exactly the truth. Well, Rodney, brother, I appreciate you coming on with us.
Yeah, not a problem. I got tons more stories, so when we get more time, we'll get into them a little deeper.
Well, we're gonna have you
I
on
got a really good one about it.
We're gonna have you on the main show before too long, and I'm gonna make you tell that Red River Gorge story.
Yeah, that's a good one. I also got a good one about the house me and my wife lived in for 5 years that I would say was good fun.
Nice.
We actually just wrote a short story for Anubis Press. It should be released sometime in the next 3 or 4 months, I would believe, about that house.
Well, that's very cool.
And,
so is it like a true story? The short story yourself, was it a true story, or is it just based off the house?
Yes, it's a true story. It's like a condensed version, so it's only like 10 or 12 pages. But for 5 years, just countless things happened in this house, and so many that I could write a whole book about it. And that's the goal.
Very cool. Well, looking forward to having you on very soon, sir.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it.
All right, brother. I appreciate it. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, Jerry. Have a great night.
So that was Rod Mack's story as Tracy drops Ninja. After just talking about how precious he was, she tries to kill him.
He kept jumping on my head. Every time, when we hold him, he acts like we're going to drop him, and we never drop him. Well, except the time Freddie about killed me, and I dropped him. But, I don't know. He's just so dramatic.
She means Freddy the cat, not Freddy Krueger.
Oh, yeah.
Just
Freddie Mercury.
So, Rod's stories I thought were pretty cool, but even more cool than his stories on the air is the stuff we talked about off the air.
Yeah. Because
I was asking him, and I'm going to have him talk about this on a regular show. He goes out looking for cryptids.
He is so brave.
And so it's like he knows certain things to look for.
Yeah.
Because I was asking him, can cryptids just be anywhere? And he's like, no, they've done all this research, and they know that it's, there's got to be like a stream or a river that's down in a gully, and it's got to be this old of a place. And this,
gosh.
But he was telling me, and it was a little bit over my head because he's so versed in this stuff, but he was telling me all the different things they look for, and when you can tell if there's Bigfoot activity or other type of activity. And
basically, if me and you tried to go out and do that, we would be so like,
yeah, we'd just be looking for deer.
We'd be so lost. We'd be like, we wouldn't even know where to start.
Yeah, that's exactly, and that's the whole thing. And I found that fascinating of what they look for. So he's going to come on the main show and talk about that.
Good.
So yeah, but he's like, oh, like if you see some of these trees that are 6 inches in diameter and they'll be kind of twisted, they'll be alive, but you can see they're all kind of really twisted and stuff like that. That usually shows signs of Bigfoot activity. And,
really?
Yeah. So it's just like,
dang.
Really
like
cool.
The Bigfoot twisted the tree?
Yeah. from like walking through and just pushing stuff aside and all that.
Wow, how crazy is that?
And he was talking about how strong they are. We talked a little bit about the Patterson Gimlin film, and he said that I don't know, I can't. He said something about he thinks that there's no way that that's a fake because if you look at the, he said first of all they wouldn't have wasted time putting boobs on it and
Putting boobs on it.
Yeah, because the Bigfoot in there is a female.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
What the heck have I been? I did not know that. All
Yeah,
this
it's
time I
got
never
boobs.
knew
'Cause
that.
remember, it's got a girl's name. I can't remember what it is.
Well, I
It's
mean,
like,
some boobs,
but that's
boys
why.
have boobs. They have man
So-
boobs. It could have been a boy.
so well, no, this one's got girl boobs.
Oh.
So, anyways, but he was saying that on the back of the leg, back in the thigh area, the muscle, the way it flexes and stuff, that they didn't have special effects back then that they could have
No.
made it look that real.
Dude,
and,
I believe
and-
that's real. I mean, I don't even doubt it for a second.
But anyway, so he's got a bunch of cool stuff to talk about, and he's going to get his recording situation because he called in on this one, but he's going to get all his recording situation straightened out. So the next time that he's on, it'll sound like he's right in a room with us,
Yeah.
next to us, like Jess's did. So,
Yeah.
well, guys, it's October. It's the month most of us wait for.
Oh.
Haunted houses and cooler weather, chill in the air, pumpkins, skeletons, skeleton on a gelatin.
We've already got our stuff up.
I know some of our stuff we've had up for like a month and a half.
I know. Kristen just cannot wait. So I'm like, hello, it's August. It's not Halloween yet.
We had a Halloween floor mat in our kitchen since August.
I know. She was so excited. I just didn't have the heart to take it away. Looking forward to a bunch of fun stuff, you guys. And we cannot wait to see you on our trips coming up.
Yep, excited.
And yeah, y'all keep sending us some stories. And we love you guys very, very much.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.